It's a new year. Let's talk about comic collecting goals for 2024. Up next on this video from Bronzeville Comics. Hey there, panelologists. This is Jim from Bronzeville Comics coming to you with another video. Before we get started, please like, comment, subscribe. Follow us on the other socials. Instagram at Bronzeville_comics, whatnot at Bronzeville_comics, where we do sales every Monday night at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. And also, there is a link in the description of this video. If you're not yet signed on to Whatnot, you can sign on using that and get $10 off your first purchase. Also, there is a link in the description of this video to my eBay store as well as my email. So we're going to talk about goals for 2024. And part of that is what I want to collect and also like kind of resolutions. One, I've been good at the end of 2023, which is, and some of you have noticed it behind me, it still needs some work, is organizing the comic book room. I have been working over here. I have slabs that have to be sorted. But that's number one, is to kind of get this area cleaned up, because that's also like a life resolution. And also to clean, press, and submit more. I have boxes, and I will be adding as I start sorting through this stuff, like collections that I haven't really gone through too closely, of things that need to be cleaned, pressed, and graded. So those are kind of my resolutions, and the rest is collecting. Now, I don't expect to get all of these books in 2024, but these are the kind of the books that I'm hunting for. Probably in terms of realistic goals, I do want to finish some runs. I want to keep working on my DC 1972 run, and part of the aspect of clearing out here, and I also have to go and sort through my personal collection to know exactly what I have in there, is work on my DC 1972 collection. I'm well on the way there. But basically, the S titles to the end of the alphabet, I'm not exactly sure what I already have in the PC. And those are kind of, the DC 72 collection is something that I kind of work on just as I go to shows and I find books that I don't have, or at least I don't think I have, that appear to be in decent condition. For most books, especially if it's a run filler, so it's not terribly expensive, I want books at least fine, probably very fine or better for a 1972 book. The most challenging are the romance books to find. Those often, it's difficult to find in the wild. I have to go to eBay and try to pick them up there, and even then, sometimes that's a little bit challenging. The other piece that I'm collecting that I've gotten into more, and I don't yet have a full list, but I want to kind of see what I have, are the DC 100-page Super Spectaculars. Now, there are two aspects to that. There is the actual run of DC 100-page Super Spectaculars, which ran, what was it, from 72 to 74, I believe. And many of those don't have their own title, and I have this little conundrum that's bothering me in that regard. So I'm talking about the original 100 pages. The reprints, I probably have most of them anyway, or the when DC's been putting out, I think in the last few years they put out some 100 pagers. But it ran for 18 issues, starting with issue DC 4, not sure why, through 21. And I believe if I'm missing, I'm just missing maybe 5 of them. The problem is, at a certain point in time, after the first 4 or 5 of them, DC had a double numbering system. So the book was numbered, let's say, for instance, not all the time, but DC number 8, DC 8, was also Batman 238. So I have the conundrum. Do I have to collect it twice? So I have them with the 100 pagers as the DC 100 page run, as well as the Batman run? I don't know. The other thing is, in like 1974-75, most of the main DC titles, I guess they're better sellers. Batman, Detective, Superman, Action, Brave and the Bold, Wonder Woman, and some of the more popular, like Unexpected, I think Ghosts, House of Mystery, maybe House of Secrets. I'm trying to think of all of them. Basically, for a year, the standard issues were on 100 pagers. Flash, Superman, Action, etc. Not all their books, not Adventure Comics, didn't have 100 pagers at that point in time. But a lot of the series did, and I want to try to collect all those. I have to kind of catalog and see what I have. So those are fun to read because both the DC 72 stuff and even more so the 100 pagers, and again, the romance books are tricky there, are a part of my childhood. And that's what I remember reading as a kid and really what got me into collecting comics. And that's kind of something that's becoming more important to me as I get kind of deeper into the hobby. The other thing is completing runs. Part of that is cataloging. I have to make sure I'm pretty close to completing a Justice League of America run. All of Volume 1. If I'm missing issues, I can probably count them on one hand, but I have to catalog everything I have here because I picked up some lots that I didn't completely catalog, and I picked up books here and there. It shows that haven't completely gotten into my cataloging software. I also, at that point, then need the Brave and the Bold issues, 28 through 30. 28 being the first appearance of the Justice League, so that's kind of a grail. I was fortunate enough in 2023 to pick up Justice League 1. The other series that I'm working on is Aquaman. I think at most I need one issue to have the entire run of Aquaman. Not just the first run, the Silver Age run or the Silver/Bronze Age run, but basically I think I have every issue of Aquaman ever from the Silver Age on. The only thing is I still need 2 of the showcase issues, including the first showcase issue. Now, I'm not going to go crazy and try to get all of Aquaman's appearances like in Adventure Comics going all the way back, but I want the Aquaman headline runs. And then I'm working on my Adventure Comics run. I'm pretty close. Again, probably less than 10 books that I need. Oh, it's definitely less than 10 books I need from 300 on. But what I really want to complete the collection is Adventure Comics 247 up. And I do have a couple of the bigger issues in there, like the first appearance of Aqualad is in there that I got at a really good deal. But the big one is Adventure Comics 247, the first appearance of the Legion of Superheroes, which would leave me one book shy of the first appearance of every Legion member, which is also kind of a question mark in my head. I think, well, is the first appearance of Superboy the first appearance of Superboy, or is it Action Comics 1 the first appearance of Superman because Superboy becomes Superman? I'll count the first appearance of Superboy, which is in More Fun Comics, and I'm not sure the number off the top of my head, but that's a long-term goal. I also want to work on my Batman run. Obviously, a holy grail is Batman #1. And to work all the way down. But realistically, I think I can complete issue 100 up. The biggest challenge there is the issue 121, the first appearance of Mr. Freeze, or as he was referred to in that particular issue, Mr. Zero. So those are challenging. Now, in 2022, I finished my collection of issues 1 through 14 of leading comics. The 14 Golden Age appearances of the 7 Soldiers of Victory as a team. What I want long-term, and this is really challenging, is the 5 first appearances of the characters. And then if I get a little bit crazy, there are, I think, 2 other books. 2? That would be, no, 3. I think that would be the first cover appearances of those characters. Even though it's the 7 Soldiers of Victory, there's 5 first appearances because 2 were teams, and I'll explain. So in terms of most difficult to easiest, or easiest to most difficult, Action Comics 60, first appearance of the Star-Spangled Kid in a 3-page preview story. That's why I also wanted the first cover appearance, because really his first kind of full appearance is in Star-Spangled Comics #1, which is more expensive than Action 60 because it's a #1, and it has several first appearances. And I've seen this book several times, but it's always in really bad condition and way overpriced for the condition, like over $1,000 for a really beat up copy, like 2.0 at best. And that's Adventure Comics 66, which is the first appearance of the Shining Knight. His first cover appearance is on Leading Comics #1. And so that's why I said the Action Comics 60 is the first appearance of Star Spangled Kid and Stripesy. So since there are sidekicks included in the Seven Soldiers of Victory, that's why you have only 5 books to get all the first appearances. I think that's the easiest one to get, because the Action Comics book also is a Golden Age Superman cover, so that's a little more difficult, which is true of the next book on the list, which is Action Comics 42, the first appearance of Vigilante. So Action Comics 42, first appearance of the Vigilante. Those 3, I think, are attainable. Then it gets more difficult, because then you go to Detective Comics 20. Detective Comics 20, the first appearance of the Crimson Avenger. And the thing with that book is that that's 7 issues before Batman shows up. All right, so it's exceedingly rare. It is from 1939. No, I'm sorry, it's from cover dated October 1938. There are only 16 universal copies on the census. And even, in the last year, a 1.8 sold for $4,500. It doesn't come up too often for sale, and it's really hard to get, just because of how old it is. And then the one that's really challenging to find is because it's a slew of first appearances and 2 of my favorite characters. It's More Fun Comics number 73, which is the first appearance of Green Arrow and Speedy, related to the Seven Soldiers of Victory. It's also the first appearance of Aquaman, unrelated to the fact that it's the first appearance of Green Arrow. They just had new backups. And so that's a really expensive book. That's a book that in mid-grade kind of approaches 6 figures. So that is also an ultimate grail. So that would be the Seven Soldiers of Victory. I think one of the 3, the 3 more reasonable ones is Reasonable Pickup. Then I want to work on my May 1946 run. And usually what I do is I go to a show, I have a list of, I haven't completed it, but most of the books that I need for that May 1946 collection that I've been getting. And usually I can go to somebody that has like a bunch of Golden Age. Usually I can dig through and find something. And usually if it's, one of the funny books that's not necessarily superhero related, doesn't have a classic cover, doesn't have memorable characters, you can get it for well under $100, sometimes under $50, which is, and again, I'm looking for decent condition. I'm not looking for something that's falling apart. And I'm also, for the most part, I might make exceptions. For the most part, I'm looking for raw books because I want to have the experience of looking at the comic itself. Especially for these May 1946, I have not bought a single graded comic for that run. The only challenge there is making sure, or trying to make sure, that the comic isn't restored in terms of color touch, reglossing, or the most difficult thing for me to pick up would be trimming, unless it's really obvious. So the most expensive books from that batch are Batman, number 34, just because it's Batman. All New Comics, number 12, interestingly, at least in terms of recent sales, I guess it's quite rare, is hard to get. Black Hood, number 18, MLJ, superhero. A superhero that has reappeared over the years. Dynamic Comics, number 18, a classic Gus Rica cover with the airplane head monster on the cover. That's what really, and again, that's a book that is well into the hundreds. And then there's also Exciting Comics number 47. It's a Black Terror cover. Not a character that's well remembered, but the art is by Alex Schomburg. And that's true of a couple of these. That's also a fairly expensive book, but a fun book. It's Nador Publications, or Ned Pines, right? Sometimes it's referred to as Pines. And then the others are all superhero timely comics, which are expensive. There's Captain America Comics 56. And at least in terms of affordability, these are post-war comics. There's Human Torch 22. There's Marvel Mystery Comics 72. And there's Submariner Comics 19. Those are the ones. I don't believe any of those timelies are Schomburg covers. And I'm not sure if he did any other covers that month other than the Black Hood. The Black Hood, the Exciting Comics with the Black Terror on the cover. So those are the more expensive books. There are plenty of others, and for big shows like New York, Baltimore, Terrificon, there are enough dealers that have those books that I'm going to be searching them out. And then I'm kind of I put together 13 books. I think it's 13. And there are more that I could add to this. But essentially 13 books from the Silver and Late Golden Age, more honestly Atomic Age, that I'm on the hunt for, and I would love to get a copy of, because they're classic appearances of classic DC characters, and characters for the most part that I grew up with. So the two Golden Age books are from the 1950s, and they're first appearances of DC characters and characters that are still relevant today, and that's Phantom Stranger #1. I've seen a really beat up copy at a show, but I don't think we've been in close in terms of price. It's probably like a 1520 kind of book. And then the other one, and this is a book that, since most people don't know about it, it's the kind of book that could all of a sudden pop up like at a flea market or something with a bunch of old Golden Age books, or in a collection of somebody who had like just Golden Age books, because I've seen other issues from this series, but this one is astoundingly expensive, thousands of dollars in mid-grade, and that's The Adventures of Rex the Wonder Dog #4, the first appearance of Detective Chimp, who is been used a lot in DC continuity in, I don't know, I'd say in the last 20 years, and also is a fairly prominent member of Justice League Dark, and I think that's somebody that we're going to see in the DCU at some point. The other books from the Silver Age that I'm kind of targeting, and if I can get the right deal, and again, most of these I would like to have raw rather than graded, just so I can read them. You know, I understand, you know, the folks that are anti-slabbing, but I also like to slab books to increase their value, make the value a little more ascertainable, because there's already a grade associated with it when I pass these on to my heirs. You know, and in terms of building a collection, that's kind of what I want. But usually I prefer to get these books raw and then submit them myself. So one of them is Space Adventures 33 from Charlton Comics, and that's the first appearance of Captain Atom, who is one of the characters that came over to DC in the 1980s when they purchased many of the Charlton characters. I have most of the Charlton first appearances. The other one that I need is Blue Beetle #1. The first appearance of The Question, and I think that these are both characters that we well could see in live action as the Warner Brothers goes ahead with the DCU. And then the other books, so that leaves, I think, 9 books that I'm kind of targeting. There are probably others that I forget about. There are certainly villain first appearances that I would love to get, but I haven't really put those at the top of the list. But at the top of my list, really, that I've been looking for lately and haven't found it in the right grade, certainly for the right price, Showcase 34, first appearance of the Atom. Great Gil Kane cover, and obviously the Atom being an early member of the Justice League that I grew up with. House of Secrets 92, the first appearance of Swamp Thing. So that is a big DC Bronze Age key, and we know that it's a character that's getting his own movie, right? I believe it's a movie, not a TV series. Brave and the Bold 34, the first appearance of Hawkman. Great Joe Kubert art on that one. Also, someone who is a member of the Justice League. Flash 123, the first time that we see Earth 1 and Earth 2, and the whole introduction of the concept of the multiverse. That book had gone way up in price leading up to the Flash movie, and now hopefully it does become more affordable. Flash 112, a book I saw at Baltimore in high grade, but it was just a little out of what I wanted to pay for it. Flash 112 is the first appearance of the Elongated Man, who, when I was a kid, was one of the characters that was inducted into the Justice League while I was beginning to read it. And then the last four on the list are big boy books. Green Lantern #1 from the Silver Age. Obviously, I love Green Lantern #1 from the Golden Age, but I'm not going to go for Golden Age keys just yet. Got to have more funds for that. But that would be a great book to have. The best clown puppet cover of all time. And I'm kind of slowly, quietly working on my Green Lantern run. Then, kind of to go along with that, Flash 105, the first issue of Flash, continuing the numbering from Flash Comics in the Golden Age. Showcase 22, the first appearance of the Hal Jordan Green Lantern. And another one that is a big-time grail, Showcase 4, the first appearance of Barry Allen Flash, the book that started the Silver Age. So those are kind of my goals, big-time books. But I do have the more attainable, Bronze Age DC stuff. I've gotten pretty much all my Marvel 1972 keys. I think I have all of the keys from 1972 for Marvel. Haven't collected every single issue of Marvel. And that's about it. I'm just as you get deeper into this hobby, you look for more interesting things to collect, things that are a little harder to find because you like the thrill of the hunt. With the right amount of funds, building up, X-Men 94 on is doable. Those books are at every show you go to. But a lot of these books that I'm looking for are not, especially those Golden Age books. And that's, kind of that May 1946 and that DC 1972 have given me little niches to be a challenge, really, as a collector. I think that's what it is, and there's also certainly a sense of nostalgia associated with it. I love getting the May 1946 books because it brings me back to a time that is not when I was born, folks. I'm not that old. I'm old, but not that old. But it's also, a slice of Americana at the time, because you get all these different genres of comic books, which is a lot of fun. And of course, the DC 1972 and the 100 Pagers bring me back to my childhood and the reasons that created the comic book collector in me. So anyway, thanks for stopping by and visiting this video. I appreciate you taking a look at it. In the meantime, you can take a look at a couple of my other videos here. And this is Jim saying until next time, enjoy your comics.